Hi there, it's Kevin with Roguedeckbuilder.com here with the deck tech of the red-green Elfball, or as I like to call it Elvish Surge, because it revolves around trying to combo off with Primal Surge and a bunch of elves. This is kind of an updated list. I know I haven't released the videos yet, so I'll probably be releasing this the same time as I will be releasing all the videos that are recorded, but I've played a few more games after the fact, and this is the most updated of lists that I have out right now. I've changed mainly the sideboard. I think the main board has completely stayed the same, and my sideboard has evolved to deal with the meta better. And I'll tell you the cards that I changed out here shortly, but let's just go over the main board here. I'm running 3 colors, but it's almost like a 2-color deck. The only reason white's in here, because you might as well, since we have the Avacyn Pilgrims, for the Gavony Townships. I do think the Gavony Townships are that good of cards. You definitely could go into more forests. I usually don't have a problem because everything adds for a green except for the Gavony Townships. Or you could lower the forest count for more Sunpetal Groves to try to activate the Gavony Townships as well. The red mana is pretty easy to get, and of course you could go up more Sunpetals and down Rootbound Crags because the Burning-Tree Emissary can be used to add that red mana for the Fervor. And you do need double, though, for the Ogre Battledriver, but the Burning-Tree Emissary kind of helps. This is kind of like my version of the Manamorphosis in this deck, because you get to cast a creature, you get a 2/2 body, and it replaces itself with the mana. So it's almost like drawing a free card, but you're actually, you're turning 2 green into a green and a red. So I do find this card very, very useful, and I'll go over other reasons why I have it in this deck here shortly. So let's start with the 1-drops. I'm using 12 of the 1-drops. These are all the 1-drops that we have access to. I'd love Birds of Paradise. It was in the format, but it unfortunately is not. So Avacyn Pilgrim is my next best option. Of course, I already talked about why I've got the Gavony Townships, because you have the access to white mana through Avacyn's Pilgrim. And Gavony Township is just amazing in a 34 creature deck. Let's go on to the 2-drops. So the reason why I'm including the Burning-Tree Emissaries is it pairs very well with all of these. And I'm still trying to figure out the right number between the Sages and the Zhur-Taa Druid. So far the Druids are, I don't know, it's about 50-50 because I do like the Sage because it does up the elf count. We are pretty low on elves to begin with. I mean, we only have 4 Arbor Elves, 4 Elvish Mystics, and 4 Elvish Archdruids, and then the Visionaries. So the Sages do add to our elf count, but other than that, the Zhur-Taa Druids are humans. I thought about adding a Caverns of Souls in the deck because you could of course first turn, if you had like a Zhur-Taa Druid and an Elvish Mystic in the deck, you could go Caverns of Souls naming Druid, and you'd still be able to cast it for the Elvish Archdruid, the Elvish Mystic, the Zhur-Taa Druid, and even the Gyre Sage could be named as Druids, and even the Arbor Elf. So I'm thinking that will be an inclusion is going to be the Caverns of Souls, because I have been facing a lot of UWR, and it's very, very annoying to go up against a for a Game 1 Syncopate or Game 1 Dissipate, when basically they can't really dissipate anything in our deck. I guess they could still hit like the Behemoth, but late game you could even say Beast for the Craterhoof Behemoth. But there's ways of cheating the Craterhoof Behemoth. I'll go over that. But anyway, we'll go back to Caverns of Souls. I probably will end up adding a couple Caverns of Souls. I think 2 will probably be the right count. And most likely you're going to be naming Druid, as it taps for everything except for like the Visionary, which probably isn't that hard to cast. I mean, you could easily name Elf too. Let's see here. We have 4, 8, 12, 16, 18 Elves total versus 4, 8, 11, 15 Druids. No, 17 Druids. So yeah, you probably most likely would want to name Druid, and you could also name Human if you had to, because these are humans, and humans. And then also Shaman works as well, because we got Shaman with the Burning-Tree Emissaries and the Elvish Visionaries. So there definitely is some use for Caverns of Souls, so I'm going to go ahead and add those after. I need to pick them up again. I ditched my Caverns of Souls in like 20 tickets. They're crazy expensive, so I need to pick them up again. I think they're pretty cheap now on MTGO. So I do highly recommend putting those in, because UWR is a thing. It is probably the flavor of the week this week. Seems to go in like little bursts where Jund got oppressive, so now UW UWR is there to compete, to kind of farm the Jund decks out, even though Jund's a decent matchup versus UWR. But UWR can beat Jund. It's about 50-50. But if UWR does get big again, then you might see the Craterhoof Behemoth and Burial Rites decks becoming big again, because they really prey on that deck. So anyway, let's go down the 3 drops. I'll finally get to the 3 drops. Oh, well, back to the 2 drops. Burning-Tree Emissary can cheat out any one of these 2 drops. That's why I have it in here. And it's kind of like a free spell in this deck. And like I said, it can help fix your mana. And the Sage isn't going to get evolved by anything but the Ogre Battledriver or the Craterhoof Behemoth and Soul of the Harvest. So Sage isn't that great in this deck, but it can get counters with a Gavony Township, and it is an elf. It is an elf that does get ticked up. I really don't know of a better replacement. Like I said, I'd probably go for another Druid if I don't want to go the Sage. I don't know what would be the right play or the right card to play if not the Sage. So I guess you could go like a Champion Lamphole. I guess there would be nothing wrong with a Champion Lamphole to go to kind of a elf aggro deck, but this is not what we're trying to do. So I think Sage is the right play. So let's go to the 3 drops. I have a 1 of Fervor. I like having 3 options of haste in this deck. The whole reason why we're using red is because once you get one of these hasters out, your deck basically just goes infinite, and you cast everything in your deck and win. So I mean, it does rely on drawing in an Elvish Archdruid, but the Elvish Mystics can go if you have like a Soul of the Harvest out or a haste out, which isn't that hard to get. Even a Soul of Harvest can come out as quick as turn 3, and then you could like turn 4 Fervor, then cast a Mystic. Mystic draws a card, cast another Mystic, draws a card, cast an Arbor Elf, draws a card, cast something, and you just go through your entire deck until you find the pieces, and the next turn Craterhoof Behemoth or Primal Surge. You might just want to go to 2 Craterhoof Behemoths instead of a Primal Surge. I just really like this card a lot. I'm trying to see if it is as effective as I think it will be. It did win me a game against UWR as we were both down to no cards, and I had a Primal Surge in hand, and he was out of steam trying to counter or burn everything that I put out because he was down to like 5 life, and I was able to Primal Surge and basically just throw everything out of my deck and win. So that is what's in there. So back to the 3 drops. We got Fervor for the haste ability. Of course, Elvish Archdruid is what this deck revolves around. This is the best card in the deck by far. It comes out on turn 2 almost every game that you have it in your opening hand. Very good card. 4 drop Ogre Battledriver. Very good again in this deck. You'd be surprised at how well Elvish Visionaries with Ogre Battledriver is, where you can go Elvish Visionary, and you have 2 3/1 hasters on the board on like usually turn 4, because you cheat this out on turn 3, and you're staring down a pretty, and even if you have like an Elvish Archdruid out, then they're 4/2 hasters. Not bad. I've killed people alone just with the Ogre Battledrivers, and the haste is so amazing. Again, you can go Elvish Mystic, works the same way as Fervor, and you just get to go through your entire deck. All right, so onto the 6 drops. These, like I said, can come out as quick as turn 3. Turn 3, of course, is like an Arbor Elf or an Elvish Mystic into a Elvish Archdruid. Next turn, tap. You have 3 lands. You have 3 available mana with the Mystic and the Archdruid. And you can get a Soul of the Harvest out or a Garruk, Caller of Beasts. Both are very, very powerful in the deck. Garruk, Caller of Beast, since I have 34 creatures, it's usually going to grab a little over 2.5. You're looking at like 2.8 creatures per activation. I've hit 5 multiple times. The lowest I've ever hit was 1. I've yet to just brick and not hit anything, because like I said, everything in this deck is creatures besides the 1 of Primal Surge. So that is another good reason. Oh, I guess the 1 of Fervor as well. So there's another good reason with Primal Surge, as you will, if you do draw into the Primal Surge and you can cast it, you go through your entire deck and win. So Soul of the Harvest, of course, is good because it draws, like I've already talked about the combo here. If you have these 2 out, it's basically game. And Garruk, Caller of the Beast is just amazing. I've actually have yet to ult it, but I have used his -3 ability to win the game before, as you can cheat in a Craterhoof Behemoth, or even just like saving some mana to cheat in like an Elvish Archdruid it's great. I have no problems with that play. So they talked about these cards. So let's go to the sideboard. I used to have cards like, I think I had Ranger's Guile to protect my creatures. I've had Hindering Touch at one point. I've had a ton of cards that kind of protect the whole idea was to protect my Elvish Archdruid. And I had Thragtusk, and I had the Worm, the Elder Scale Worm in here as well. I kind of do like the Elder Scale Worm. Let's pull it up here so you can see what it is. And the theory is like against Naya or against Burn or even against like Jund if they don't draw. I mean, Jund has a ton of ways to kill it, where it'd be Putrefy or even Doomblades or even Olivia stealing it. I mean, it's got a number of ways. So, but against like certain burn decks like Naya or just plain burn, they have absolutely no way to deal with an Elder Scale Worm. You drop it down, they can't win because of the damage. They're usually a damage-based deck, and they can't get you below 7 life. It's actually not even too bad against its UWR, as again, it'll keep you at 7 life before they can actually deal with it. But if you're relying on Elder Scale Worm versus UWR, you're probably really far behind to begin with. Also, 7 mana for a 7/7 Trampler's it's not a horrible thing. It'll end the game pretty quickly. But I did cut it because I think the Thragtusk and Elder Scale Worm just weren't working for me. I don't really need to stabilize too well against damage-based decks, and so I thought if I was going to have any gain life card in here, it'd definitely be Huntmaster. As Huntmaster again can come out on turn 3 pretty easily, and then you get a 2/2 and a dude that can flip and start. Boros Humans is huge. Celestia Humans and Boros Humans are everywhere right now in MTGO, and Huntmaster is very great. So my sideboard is kind of directly to combat the RG aggros, the Boros Humans, the Celestia Human decks, any sort of creature-based aggro deck. You bring in the Predator Ooze. It's one of the biggest roadblocks, especially a turn 2 Predator Ooze can just take over the game. And then you've got the combination. I've also got a 6 Slimes in here. This is a new edition. I haven't tested this out yet, but in theory it works great with Domri as it's a Death Toucher. But also it against certain 3-color decks, you can lock them out of a color. It really sets them back. It's an answer for Oblivion Ring. It's an answer for a Detention Sphere. It's an answer for any sort of problematic cards like Curse of Deathhold. Just a number of cards it's very good against. So something I'm trying out, again, you can get this out as quick as like a turn 3, so it's kind of like a Stone Rain. You can take out their land, not too shabby. Alrighty, so I guess that's the gist of the deck. I've had very good success with it. Again, I'm still trying to work out all the tweaks. This is more of a fun deck. I don't know how competitive it actually is. I mean, like I said, I've got a winning record with it, but a lot of times I have a winning record with decks that don't end up. I mean, I've probably played about 15-20 games with this, and that's not enough to really gauge the power of it. And I've had a lot of repeat decks. Like I said, I've played against Boros Humans probably like 8 of those 20 games, and it's a very good deck against that. So I mean, you just roadblock, you just gunk up the field, and they have to rely on like a Johnny or something with flying to get over top. And you're an aggro deck too, so they can't. A lot of times you're a lot faster. They have no real way to interact with you, and you just you combo off before they can really kill you. So again, I can't really speak for the competitiveness of this deck. What I can speak of is how hilarious some of the draws are, how fun it is to go Mystic into Archdruid into Group Caller Beast, draw 5 cards next turn. You know, you throw down like an Ogre Battlemaster, go through your entire deck and win. It's pretty crazy how it works, and I've got some videos to show how it works. Yep, so basically, I guess I've talked about everything in this deck. I'll post the games that I've taped. I think I taped 4 of them, and I'll post them as soon as I can get them edited. Having problems with YouTube right now. If you've seen my videos, my intros are screwed up, like it's not rendering them. My video program's actually rendering them properly. It's when I'm converting them over to YouTube, and it's the same way I've done it all along. It's getting messed up. So I don't know what the problem with YouTube is. It's something that's new, something that's just within the past week it's happening. So I do apologize for that. Anyway, this is Kevin from Roguedeckbuilder.com. Thanks for watching.